What's up, everybody? The world's a better place because you're here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I'm the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is a Tuesday into Wednesday, the 10th to 11th of December, 2024. As we're marching on to the end of the year, well, today is the day where Productive Conversations is going to talk about the college football playoff 12 team final bracket. Plus the Heisman
Yep.
Trophy, plus the Heisman finalists are announced. And we'll talk some Bill Belichick heading to the college football game. Ryan, for the first time, will discuss college football with me. What's up, Ryan?
How's it going, man? Happy to be on one of the sports shows again.
Yeah, I'm very happy to have you here. I really am. This is cool. As we begin our paradigm shift and talk about some other good things, just don't forget to like and subscribe and rate the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content across all our socials. We're on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X at ProcConvoPod, TikTok at Productive Conversations, and Facebook at Productive Conversations. So let's get into it, Ryan. Today is the day. So it was announced on Sunday that the college football playoff is now official. It is here once and for all. As I pull up the official bracket, tell me how you feel about this, Ryan. How do you feel about college football now going to try to make December their own, and that'll be the month for the college football playoff?
I, for one, have felt that by and large, the playoff structure this year, like the hype for it, has been great for people's interest in college football. I think the way that the 12 team works makes more games more important for longer,
Yeah.
which to me, I think is a net positive for college football. It makes people more invested. There's little things I feel like I would nitpick about how this all went down, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of them when we talk about the bracket itself. But by and large, I think that this 12, I don't think they need to go higher. I know that someone's like, "What if we did?" No, I don't think we need 14 or 16. I just 12 is fine. I think
Yep.
this made it a much more interesting end of the season, whereas in the past, this time would be like maybe four or five teams everyone's kind of watching to see what's going to happen. I mean, we had 12. We were discussing 9-3 teams and things. You know what I mean? Teams that would have never been discussed in the past were still relevant. And you still had coaches and fan bases making, impassioned pleas to get in at the 10, 11, 12-ish spot. 12 obviously is a weird one this time around. But so again, I really liked it, made it more interesting. Just minor tweaks is all I would do personally. I think that this is a good format to keep for a while.
Amen to that. You have to be. Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up.
Okay.
I don't know if a friend is trolling me, but we might have some breaking news. Let me
Oh.
make sure that's official first. Um, Let me make sure that's official first. But if it is official, I will obviously make that clear. But
Yeah.
um I got regarding one of the NFL coaches getting fired now. But
Ooh.
let me double check that it's true because he does lie a lot to me. It trolls me. But so he was the one who said the what I we thought that privately the Aetna CEO had the
Yeah,
same
yeah, yeah,
fate
yeah,
as
yeah,
you
yeah,
did
yeah.
one. All
No,
right.
that's good.
Anyways, but let me continue on. But the big thing here is we've seen the one sport to truly grow. It's weird to say. NFL is king and has stayed king.
Yeah.
And NBA's declined in ratings we talked about. MLB has become more regional. NHL is the NHL. College football has really grown in popularity over the past,
Oh,
I would say,
absolutely.
decade. And adding
Past
to
5 years
this,
have been amazing growth for college football.
yeah. And now everybody's getting a real feel for it. And it's so much it's easier to watch these games. You find out the stars. And this is their big moment to really capture the country as a whole. We saw so much realignment. I mean, the Big 12, first, the Big 10 winner is Oregon, who was just in the Pac 12. Were
Yeah.
you the one who sent me that? That the Arizona State
Yeah,
left, and
Arizona
then you were the, yeah, you
and
sent
then
me that.
Oregon and then Texas.
Yeah,
is new to the SEC, one of the best teams in that you know what I mean? Like yeah, the teams are the conferences rather are definitely closer together now.
right. And now we have a good feel of things. And obviously, college basketball takes over March.
Oh yeah.
And now we'll see if they can take if college football can take over December, and I actually think it will.
Mhm.
The college football games begin with the bowl games begin next week.
Mhm.
Friday is the first game. Before we get into that, adding on to this, the original Big Four bowls, classically Fiesta, Sugar, Orange, Rose, and
Cotton.
and Peach. Those are the big five, I should
Peach of the
say.
Cotton Bowl is the number
Yeah,
six.
yeah,
The
Cotton.
New Year's
You're right.
Six.
So now they all will have a college football playoff implication.
Mhm.
Gets more interest in that. And yeah, this is a great time. And it's cool that this is our second year following college football extensively. And now we're part of this journey to see it for our first time. And I don't know about you, I personally never had a favorite college football team. Just
Mhm.
watching the players and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it still probably will stay that way. But yeah, I'm as interested in college football as ever. And it's now getting a feel we have a good grasp on where this is
Yeah.
all going. So this is really cool. This is just really
Absolutely.
exciting. Really, really exciting. And I believe this will be a ratings juggernaut in the
Oh,
final weekends
for
of
sure.
the
For
NFL
sure. And I think this
of December.
playoff that they put together is going to be a big part of that ratings juggernaut. But just quickly, you said you never, when I was a kid, my family was like Notre Dame fans. And then somehow we became both UConn and Syracuse fans because when people went to college. And now I'm watching again and I don't align with any team in particular. I guess Rutgers, but they're not good. Actually they were fine this year. That's not true. But
Yeah, they'll make a bowl
yeah,
game at
they got a
least.
bowl. I think they're in the what are they?
Jimmy Kimmel Bowl.
No, I think they're in the Independence Bowl this year or something like that, or the Liberty or something like that. They're in one of those
Yeah.
bowls. So they did make a bowl game. That's pretty cool. If they win that, that's like I think 3 seasons in a row with a winning record. They were in a bowl game, I believe, last year too. So again, cool, but not one of the heavy hitters. So I like to just watch the heavy hitters in the postseason, knowing that Rutgers is not ever gonna never say never, but probably not gonna be there.
Yeah. Well, regardless, though, maybe you make a new fan. Maybe we will have some new fans. We'll garner some interest, and we'll just have a lot of fun with it. So why don't we look at the final bracket? What's in for all? And then we'll
Hmm.
keep the screen going for this one. So I'll share the screen here. And here it is. Just having some technical difficulties here.
No
But
worries.
I don't think we need to really see it for now. But um why don't we just discuss it fully? So why don't we first go with the teams that have the bye? So these four teams won their Power Four conferences. First, we have Oregon, undefeated Oregon. They're ranked first in the nation. They have the number one seed. They get a bye. Georgia, who won the SEC, they are second. They get a bye. We have Boise State, who won in a group of five conference, but had a better record overall and more quality wins. Despite being ranked ninth in the nation, they have the third bye. And then Arizona State winning the Big 12. Despite being ranked 12th in the nation, they are the four seed and they have the bye. So out of the four, what catches your eye between these four? Couple Heisman finalists within there are some of the teams very explosive offensively. I think
Hmm.
all of them, and just clearly Georgia has been a powerhouse. They're used to being deep in these playoffs, but now they
Yeah.
have an Oregon team that seems to be holding their own, and they're still undefeated. Arizona State is in there with a big opportunity, and then Boise State will have the bye as well. What catches your eye between these four schools?
I mean, just looking at the four schools, you see Boise, right? And to me,
The
Boise with the
Mountain
bye.
West champion.
Yeah, and Mount West champion. Boise with the bye to me doesn't make sense. I understand why they have the bye in terms of record. They've got the, fourth best record or third best record, excuse me, of the conference champions. That's how you get a bye at current. I don't know that I love that. I think I like a system where the top five conference champions get an automatic, bid into the playoff, and then everybody else gets added in after, and then they
Yeah.
seed the entire field that way. And we'll probably talk about that as we go through. But so that's the number one. Boise to me just stands out as maybe not necessarily being deserving of the bye, based on the schedule that they've had. That being said, they took Oregon deep in their game. Like that was a close game,
Yeah.
closer than a lot of like good teams, quote unquote, traditionally good teams, got to beating Oregon. So I suppose there, we could be wrong. And then the other two things that I think of is one, I feel like Arizona State's hot right now. I watched that game against Iowa. They were super fun to me. I thought that they were the most fun team to watch during the conference championship weekend. For me, I really enjoyed that game. And Georgia is number two, and they're gonna be going into this without their starting quarterback. Um, I know that last year there was controversy around that. Obviously, these are very different when it's 12 teams versus four, but I do think that the reality is, had we not had this automatic thing, like we're talking about, had we not had the automatic top four get the buys, Georgia may not even have a bye. Georgia may have
Yeah.
gotten the five because without your starting quarterback, NFL bound starting quarterback, and I know we've talked, we don't necessarily think he'll be anything special in the NFL. He is still an NFL
Yeah.
quarterback playing for that team. He's not going to be on the field for this game, which presents an opportunity that we'll talk about. But those are the other two things I noticed is that Arizona's hot right now. It could be cool to see them in that spot where they are. And Georgia, I think, is this is the weakest Georgia's ever been. And if we're going to see a real upset anywhere in the next round, it's probably against Georgia, I would say. So
Just
Indiana
like
and
and
or Notre Dame have a really good shot at an upset, in my opinion.
easily. And just like the Chiefs, the bad guys somehow get these lucky wins. And somehow the college football. Not as egregious as the NFL ones, but
No, I
yeah,
do think
we'll
the
see
bad
what
guys
Kirby
here,
Smart
though.
can hold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bad guys are Bama, which we'll talk about probably in a second. But
And luckily they're nowhere to be seen as we saw on the tweet
yes,
cap released yesterday, thanks to Roll Tide Willie's
Roll
reaction.
Tide Willie.
But seriously though, I think yeah, it is what it is. That's where it really is a trial run to see how that is.
hmm
And it's harder for these committees to hide behind the bias. But they do have one of the most explosive college football players as well with Alshon Jeffrey for Boise State. And Dylan Gabriel has been a hot shot. He I think will be a
hmm
good prospect. But
Yep.
that's just how the cookie crumbles in that one. And regardless, though, they'll still have. I think one thing to say: every single one of these, despite having a bye, all these teams are beatable too. Even Oregon, I think for the most part
Yeah. Oregon
with
is
these
the
ones.
biggest question mark, just since
Yeah,
no one has actually technically done it before.
right.
But I'm of the same opinion that I don't believe Oregon is a lock to be in the game, the final
Yeah,
game. I'm not saying they won't be, by the way. I'm just saying I don't know that Oregon is a lock. They're definitely a heavy favorite on that side, but they have a tough matchup too.
indeed, indeed. But would we in about 2 weeks, a week and a half, when we actually see their opponent, it'd be easier to discuss then?
Sure.
Or next week for that. But
Mhm.
we'll see how this all unfolds. But now, and what's really fun, and this will begin next week, first Friday, December 20th, and then Saturday, December 21st. We have our actual games, these
Mhm.
on-campus games, if you will.
Yeah.
Most of the semesters will be finished, so these kids are really loyal for this. But this is a cool opportunity to see these playoff matchups.
Yeah.
So let's begin. We have number one. We have number one 10th. We have 10th ranked Notre Dame. Sorry. Here we go. Let's start it. We have 10th ranked Indiana taking on 7th ranked Notre Dame. Indiana's going to Notre Dame. Winner plays Georgia. That'll be Friday, December 20th, ABC prime time. This matchup, Brian, how do you feel about Notre Dame versus Indiana? Two classic programs going at each other for the first ever 12-team college football matchup.
An interstate match. They're both Indiana teams,
Oh man.
which is crazy to think about. A lot of people don't think about it that way, but yeah, Notre Dame is in Indiana, and obviously Indiana's in Indiana. So interstate, everybody in the states got a stake in this game, so that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Notre
Probably the
Dame
biggest story
fittingly,
to Indiana.
yeah. And Notre Dame fittingly kicking off this new era of the college football championship as they've, been a key part of pretty much every other era since there was college football. Um,
Absolutely. They're red hot right now.
yeah, and they are, but also like, look at the records and look at the way that they've played. And there's a lot of similarities between
Right.
Indiana and Notre Dame. Like they have the same, I believe they have the same record with the 11-1.
Yes.
And neither of them has particularly like great like strength of schedule resume type things. Like they're mostly here because they've only lost a single game.
Yep.
And then when you look at that, the fact that they've both only lost a single game, Indiana, who is ranked lower, lost to Ohio State, which is
Yeah.
a very good team, and Notre Dame lost to what, Northern Illinois State.
Northern Illinois. Yep.
Yeah, so
Whack
like,
in week 4. So they've been on a
yeah. Oh,
eight
yeah.
game
They've
winning
been on a
streak.
huge streak for sure, but like they lost to a horrible team.
Yeah, right.
And like their best win was like Army, and so I think that it's interesting that again both these teams are kind of similar, even though they're ranked so differently with 7 and 10. I do think that they're or 7 and 10 seed, I should say. They're very similar teams, and so I could see it going either way. Really, I could.
And by the way, at this moment, the spread is Notre Dame at -7.5. So actually pretty steep. So
Which I think that's too steep.
mhm.
I'll go out and say that.
What do you think is the key here is like I know Notre Dame's running game has
Mhm.
been a problem. If they're really making the yards, it's through the passing. Indiana's known for giving up points and with their defense
Yeah.
too. On a matchup to matchup wise, though, you still think that Indiana can at least keep it a competitive game.
I do. Spoiler, I do think Notre Dame will win. And I think that because, as you said, Indiana, we've seen one weakness in the team. Well, two weaknesses. One is they're playing bad teams. And then two,
Yeah.
the other weakness that we saw when they played a good team in Ohio State was their defense is a bit like Swiss cheese. It's easy to find a hole, both running, both passing. Like it doesn't matter how you attack their defense, you have a shot of getting through, making big plays. And I think that Notre Dame does have, I mean, they do have offensive talent. And I think that that's ultimately going to be the mismatch. It's that, yeah, Notre Dame's got weaknesses, so does Indiana, but Notre Dame's strengths are complemented by Indiana's weaknesses. So I do think it's probably going to go to Notre Dame. But, again, I think it'll be closer. It's certainly -7. I don't agree with at all. I think it'll be way closer than that.
All right, good, good. But a nice way to kick off this new era in college football, and that'll be very interesting. Can't wait to react to that.
Yeah.
So then the rest of the games for the first round will be on Saturday.
Mhm.
First, we have the 11th ranked SMU
Methodist.
Southern
Yeah.
Methodist
University.
University
Yep.
versus Penn State. So they're going to Happy Valley for this one. At this time, SMU is a 9-point underdog. Penn State -9 to start this off. Saturday, December 21st at noon, high noon for this one.
Hmm.
SMU Darlings coming up short in the Big 12, but still wound up getting selected by the committee. They didn't do Alabama Penn State for this one, which would have been an interesting matchup. They went to a team that some people feel are more deserving, especially with Alabama's third loss, while SMU has only lost twice. But this is very intriguing, I think. But I do think they will have their struggles against a Penn State team. But Penn State has been known to blow it up in big important games. Could the quarterfinals could the
I suppose
quarterfinals
that's
of
true.
this be that opportunity? I should say the first round could be that time. What do we think?
I don't think it will be that time. I mean, yes, anything's possible, right? But watching Oregon versus Penn and like, you know, Penn's got a really good team.
Yeah,
I mean, in terms of like, obviously we mentioned Boise took Oregon deep, and that was cool to watch. But there were times in that game where I was almost certain that the mighty Oregon would fall right at the last hurdle to Penn. And Penn wasn't even supposed to be in that game. That was because another team that we're going to talk about later just exploded at the very
yeah.
end. But like, yeah, to show up into a situation that you weren't even really supposed to be in, nobody had that expectation, and then to perform as well as they did against Oregon. I mean, SMU, awesome comeback against Clemson, just obviously just a little short. Otherwise, they would have been in, and they would have had the bye probably. They would have been able to keep the 3 or 4, and they would have sent Arizona down to the 12.
Hmm.
Um, but they're a good team, kind of like Indiana and even Notre Dame. They don't have like a ton on their resume, if I'm not mistaken. Like there was nothing that stood out to me as like a really big win, which is kind of like
No, just a bunch
all
of
of these teams.
scrappy, just a bunch of scrappy team, just a scrappy
Yeah,
team
but
this whole
they
season.
also like Indiana and a little bit like Notre Dame. I believe they won pretty like consistently, which is cool. Like that's I think something that maybe didn't always matter as much and does. Like they beat up on teams that were less than them. They got 66 against TCU, right? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, they put the beat down on people. 42 against Florida State. Yeah, they got the only other loss besides Clemson was BYU, which is ranked and was at one point a contender for Big 12. So like, they were beating up on people, which is cool, but they weren't beating up on anybody that was even remotely close to uh, to Penn in terms of talent. And I don't believe that they're going to do that now. I guess actually they did pretty well against nah, but they were bad this year. I was gonna say they did pretty well against like what's it called? Stanford and a couple other schools, but it wasn't anything. Those schools were nothing to write home about this year. So yeah, I think that the Penn team is just a stronger overall team.
Makes a ton of sense on this one. And the winner of this game would wind up taking on Boise State, which would be
Yep.
interesting. So then we go to the other side of the bracket. Clemson, ranked 16th in the nation. Sorry, yes, ranked 16th in the nation. Take it on the third ranked Texas Longhorns, but it'll be Clemson at Texas, 12 seed versus 5th seed. Right now, 4 o'clock, Saturday the 21st. Texas is actually opening as an 11-point favorite. Does Clemson have a chance here despite winning their conference, or are they playing a very, very hungry Texas Longhorn team?
I mean, yeah, obviously this is a Texas Longhorn team that it feels a little bit hurt right now. They thought that they'd be the number 2 and they're number 5. Um, I think though that this is probably the one that in the first round, that's the biggest upset like alert. I feel like everybody who's interested should watch this game
Ooh.
out of all of them. I mean, just, look at Texas, you've got this joint quarterback thing that's only going to get worse because
Hmm.
Ewers is already on his way out.
You know what they say, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none.
That's right, and so you've got that going for you. You've got the fact that this is their first time as an SEC representative in this situation. I do think that there's something to that as well. And then you just had the fact that they lost to Gunnar Stockton in the Georgia Bulldogs this past week. Like that's just a fact. They lost to Georgia's backup. And I know like and honestly Georgia before that game got taken to overtime with Georgia Tech. I do not think that this Georgia team is at its strongest and they still managed
Yeah.
to beat Texas. And so like and whereas Clemson, catapulted itself up with the surprise win over SMU by a field goal. So I think that this has got the biggest like opportunity, so to speak, for a an upset. And honestly, if I was predicting, I would predict I think Clemson over Texas. This would be where I would take my gamble. Play it safe for most of these other ones, but that's where I would put my gambling. Would be on Clemson.
I like that. I like that bold take. It Clemson has improved as it did improve as the season went on.
Mhm.
And then this Texas team, they were able to get their blowouts, but losing, you know, keeping it a little too close against Texas A&M the last regular season
Mhm.
game, and then losing to Georgia. It's a big deal. So maybe they are hurting, and maybe they are trying to figure something out. They definitely have a huge home field advantage on this one, but I
Yeah.
don't think that's too crazy. I think they could definitely cover the spread, at least Clemson at plus 11.
Mhm.
But you know what? Why not? Why not start this college football play with a huge upset? You know, devastate Glenn Powell and Matthew McConaughey and a huge Texas program that has waited a couple of decades to get back to glory. They finally showed some life last year, but I think that would be very interesting to see, Ryan. And I don't even think that's that crazy of a pick when you put it that way. But there's the final first round matchup, Saturday night, prime time. We
Mhm.
have Tennessee taking out Ohio State, the ninth and eighth seed, and these two teams have definitely had interesting stories all season long. Clearly, Ohio State's under a lot of pressure, but they are opening as the 7.5 point favorite against the Tennessee team that has been, staying competitive and in there. And I think that's a very interesting matchup in this one.
Yeah, Tennessee might be the most interesting team to watch throughout the entire tournament. And again, that could be one game or it could be, in my opinion, Tennessee could either lose this first round game or find itself in a national championship game this year. And I don't know that that's true of every other team. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's teams that are going to go a couple of rounds. There are teams that are going to lose in this first round. Tennessee could be somehow any of those teams. They could be they're a contender, or they could go out to Ohio right now. But I think that they have been, in my opinion, actually one of the more consistent teams in the SEC. They've had, when people were crying about the tough schedule of the SEC, I think Tennessee, in my opinion anyway, had one of the toughest ones besides like South Carolina. South Carolina didn't make it. They were 9-3. Tennessee did make it. So I think that in terms of battle tested, Tennessee is battle tested. I think I would put them against any of the SEC teams. I think they could have won the SEC championship last weekend had they been in that
hmm
spot. So I think they might be the most competitive team in the SEC still. And I do think they're going to end up beating Ohio, by the way, because I don't know. That team seems like it needs a change.
especially their coach needs a national championship to stay. A lot of people
I
think if
think
Ryan
that their
Day.
coach is going to get fired. We'll talk about that at later to this in this show, but I think they're not going to win this round. They're going to lose to Tennessee. He's going to get fired. But yeah, definitely watch Tennessee if you want to have your adrenaline pumping for the entire thing, because I think all of their games are a coin flip.
Look at
They'll either
look at that.
win or they'll fail miserably.
Yes, and those who need to know, Ohio State, Tennessee, the winner of that will play Oregon, and then Clemson and Texas would play Arizona State. But that'll round out our first bracket, our
Hmm.
first predictions for the bracket. I'm with you on every single one. Now we will see where this all unfolds. I'm just extremely excited. This is going to be great to see. Too bad for Bama. Not really, but definitely too bad for Miami. But that's on them for losing to Syracuse in the last game of the season. And that's how it'll all begin, Ryan, as we begin our journey following the college football postseason. I hope you're excited and ready as I am. I think it's gonna be really
Very
good. And
much.
can't wait to react to it early next week.
Yep, very, very much excited to see how it all plays out after this after this first round is done, and we'll know who's going to be in those first set of bowl games.
Yes, really good stuff. Okay, so adding to it, we do have our Heisman Trophy Award finalists announced. We have Colorado's defensive back slash wide receiver Travis Hunter. He's nominated. Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State, he's in there. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel from Oregon, and quarterback Cam Ward from Miami. They're giving four Heisman finalists this year. A lot of the years they've done three, but it's
Just
going
a
to be
three. Yeah.
these four. Ryan, if you just want, before I read the odds off, if that matters to you or anyone, what do you think? I think this is a very fair representation of the college football landscape. I think they all deserve at least a finalist nomination, and they all definitely made impacts on their team, and all of them are a big deal. All of them will be at least playing in a bowl game, and I do believe all of them will at least get a shot to get drafted in the NFL. Whether they
Mhm.
become big NFL stars or not, that's another story.
Yeah.
Oh, but I do think these are all fine young gentlemen, and it's cool to see. I think this is a good group right here.
I do want to say I hate that we're gonna have a disagreement on the sports show, but I actually think if we're going for four, I didn't think we'd have four. I thought we'd have three, and I think
Yeah.
the three are Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, and Dylan Gabriel. I think that those are the three. I think they're the undisputed three.
Hmm.
You can make a clear case as to why all three of them had like a Heisman worthy kind of story this season. But if you're gonna have four, I think the wrong Cam made it. Cam Ward, obviously good quarterback, probably the
Hmm.
best one in the draft, upcoming draft for the NFL.
Yeah.
But Cam Scatabo from Arizona State, to me, his season this year and the journey he had this year, top five running back. The last month, he's been averaging 164.7 yards, three touchdowns per game the last month. It's been a crazy production. I get that it's only 1 month. Obviously, he's not going to win. We're going to talk about the two people who are probably going to win. There's only real two options. But I think that if you're going to give this extra four to kind of just give a nod to somebody who has really, really had like a Heisman worthy kind of journey through college football, that's the Cam that I would have gone with personally, the running back at Arizona State. But other than that, the other three, I think, yeah, those are obvious. And frankly, only two of those people have a shot at winning it.
Yeah.
So doesn't really
Okay.
matter which can you pick.
I won't push back too bad because I do think that's a fair analysis. The only thing Cam Ward was the U this whole time.
Hmm.
I mean, he
Yep.
didn't really have much around him, but this man led some insane comebacks. This man has proven that he has an arm. He can be accurate with it.
Hmm.
Though he can be loose with the football. Maybe a little too many turnovers if fumbles the ball too much, but
Hmm.
hopefully that is fixed as a pro.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that crazy. I do think the first three were the ones that there should
Yeah.
be the one most considered. But yeah, I do think that's just my only pushback with that, but I think that's a
Mhm.
fair debate as well.
I think so too.
As for these three, Hunter, Genty, and Gabriel, right? I mean, let's
Hmm.
be real. It's gonna go to Travis Hunter. He's the Shohei Ohtani of college football.
Ha!
Man obviously knows how to make plays offensively, get big yardage, get separation from defenders. While on the other side, being a defender himself, not creating separation for
Hmm.
wide receivers he's covering, making big turnovers, swatting balls down. Um, I mean, he's really it. I mean, it's hard to make a case. Actually, Denti for what he's been pulling off. I think he got 1,000 yards just for the first 4 weeks of the college football season. Man's helped made Boise State a big powerhouse program, and I can even see him definitely getting first place votes. But
Hmm.
and Dylan Gabriel's been a solid quarterback and leading Oregon to a undefeated season, looks pro ready and all of that. I mean, but Travis Hunter is it? Can we even say anything? He literally plays both sides of the ball. I'm sure he would play
Well, he's not the only
special teams
person.
if he
Yeah, he's not the
wanted to
only
too.
person who's played both sides of the ball. So playing both sides doesn't guarantee you the Heisman. But yeah, I mean, I was almost looking at it this way, Matt. There's two ways to look at what the Heisman kind of means. Is the Heisman going to the best college football player, or is it going to the most valuable college football player? Because those are to me different, and those mean are two
Hmm.
different things. The best football player is the dude, like you pointed out, who is pretty good. I wouldn't say elite necessarily, but pretty good, as close to elite as you could get without crossing the line, perhaps,
Yeah.
at both ends of the football, and that would be Travis Hunter. That I don't think there's any debate, like you said. The other side of it, though, when you look at most valuable player, and you almost kind of made this point, Boise out of the Mountain West is suddenly got a bye game. They're going to be in, I believe, the Sugar Bowl or something, whatever it is. Like the expectations out of Boise before and after Janty was there are literally like different planets. And
Yeah.
so he added to his team, meaning Boise, I think at least 6 times more value than
Yeah,
Travis
right?
Hunter added to Colorado, who is in a bowl game, but is not going to be in the Big 12. Got
He might
jumped
even
by
not he might not even play that bowl game either.
right, yeah, well,
Like a
because
lot of these players don't like these seniors don't want to
they
play
got to
these
get ready
later
for
on.
their draft. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's got they got. Let's be honest, it was for a while it looked like BYU and Colorado. And then all of a sudden, both of them got jumped by Arizona State
Yeah.
and Iowa State. So, he got surpassed. Their team got surpassed by two underdog dark horses. I do think they ended up beating BYU, but I mean, that's a consolation at best. So I don't know. To me personally, I find almost more compelling the idea that the most valuable player is the player that added the most value to their team. And I think that if it were me, if I was putting in my vote for one, I might even put Genty down for that just
Yeah.
because of that. I like that, but that's not necessarily what everyone's looking at. You could be, like you said, looking at just pure individual talent, and that's clearly Travis Hunter. So I don't know who's going to win. I'm inclined to guess Hunter, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think this the committee knowing how they are that they would give it to Hunter. Maybe
Mhm.
there's the anti-Dion aspect to it where
Yep.
they give Gianti that, and those are very distinct odds. But I think that'd be the only reason if people just mad at Dion and the Colorado factor,
Well, I do think there
and they
are
would take those.
reasons, but
So,
I could see that being part of the math too. The people who
yeah.
are mad at that. And so, like, I could see good reasons for both. And I really don't like Deion Sanders. So, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be what the tips their vote toward that idea versus the other idea. But I think the committee, whoever they pick, could justify either one, truthfully, my truthful opinion.
Amen to that. It's going to be interesting to see. That should be decided in the coming weeks. And then the other college football story, didn't expect to talk about this whatsoever, but it looks like Bill Belichick has accepted the vacant position to become the head football coach at the University of North Carolina. Bill Belichick to UNC going to Chapel Hill. So there are some of details to still unfold with this one. But Ryan, if you want to give uh, the audience some information there about
Hmm.
this, what looks to be a shocking move, and
I
especially
mean,
the
yeah.
fact that Bill Belichick doesn't seem interested in, he's only, I believe, 11 wins away from becoming the all-time winningest head coach in the NFL's history, as
Hmm.
George Hollis. So about 11 wins there, all of this and then go to the college football world, especially. I guess it's SEC still, but very interesting.
Uh,
But Ron, why don't you give us some more
ACC, yeah.
information? ACC.
Um, I think I mean, just watching. So, he's accepted upon conditions. The conditions are being reviewed right now. So there's a world where there's a world where it doesn't happen. I think that
Yeah.
that world is slowly disintegrating though, because some of the things he's already requested and have already been accepted, I think are far more likely to be deal breakers than whatever else he's possibly asking for. So I really do think this is going to happen. I think he got mad that I'll say snubbed by the Falcons.
Yeah, that's so
I
weird.
mean, it was
Still
weird
so
that they
weird.
did that. And I mean, you look
And
at the
guess what?
Falcons.
They're holding on to dear hope for their division. I think mostly that's
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins' fault, but still.
Yeah, but even still, it's like they're not I don't know, they're not, in my opinion, anything special, the Falcons. Um, this season in particular. I know that again, they're still holding on. They're still right in the mix, but that's only because everybody else is so bad. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the Bucks are
Yeah.
7-6, they're 6-7. So yeah, there's a world where they pass the benchmark and they make it, but that's not a successful season. They're about to get creamed when they get when they get into if they make it into the postseason, right? But yeah, I think that this is going to happen. I think he's done with the NFL. I get that the 11 wins are, probably enticing. I'm sure he was enticed, and had he been a Falcons coach, he would have stayed until he did it. But I think that just like looking at it, he's 72 years old. He's probably thinking about what's next, right? Thinking about what the last thing this is the last job he's ever going to have theoretically, right? And so I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
why he's considering, he's got a connection to it. He's got a connection to the school. His father was an assistant coach there. Um, so I think that that's probably something that he enjoys. Obviously, Steve Belichick is going to be part of this new team. He's probably considering that.
Yeah, and then the whole big aspect is that he would hand over the job to his son at some
Yes.
point.
And so that is, you know, I think probably something he's also thinking about. He could try and beg for another shot at the NFL after they rejected him. Um, Wrongly, in my opinion, but they rejected him. Or he could set up a nice program for his son, head coach, one of the biggest brands in sports, maybe not football necessarily, with the Tar Heels not necessarily being a great football destination, but they're a good they're a good sports school. They have a good sports fan base,
Yeah, Drake
and
May came out of there, and
yeah,
he's has some potential in the NFL.
absolutely. And so, basically you're making yourself you're finishing your dynasty. You're building your little dynasty for the next generation to go through, take over, and do what they want with. I think it's a good move for him. I guess the only thing I would have said is he might have been able to wait a couple weeks and go for that Ohio State job, maybe win a college championship while he's at it.
Hmm.
Uh, just to, give everybody, you know, uh, show everybody how good he really is, because there's not a lot of coaches who've won at both levels,
Yeah, nope.
the national and the Super Bowl. And he probably won't be doing that at UNC, certainly not anytime soon. But if he had waited for the Ohio State job, which I really do believe is going to end up open, then he could have had a real shot at building that while also building this Belichick dynasty. But he, he seems happy, and it sounds like they'll do whatever he wants. So that's
Yeah, and
always
why
good for
wouldn't
him.
you for either an NFL franchise or a college football program? Now, I'm half joking and half serious about this. How much
Mhm.
do you think his 24-year-old girlfriend has an effect on it? Sure, you can make the joke about, oh, he's trying to get her to grad school. Oh, she's gonna use her to
Um,
recruit. That's the joking. But in all seriousness, though, um, do you think this is still this relationship, this age gap could be a distraction? And there have people who've made legitimate intellectual takes that, yeah, maybe not a lot of people want that, even though it's clearly not a big deal in all seriousness. Like in terms of the NFL, that NFL team hiring him. But
mhm.
how much do you think his personal life really makes an effect, and why he wants to stay maybe local and not go to a big national team, National Football League team either? Maybe
Mhm.
he's just so happy being in a committed relationship, albeit definitely with a weird age gap, but it's still a relationship. But maybe he just wants to, enjoy his personal life a little more. She just so happens to be 24
I mean,
and he's
yeah, there's
72.
definitely something to that. I think she probably factors into it a lot less than Belichick's son does. I
Oh,
think that,
jeez.
no, seriously, I
He's
really
like
do think that,
significantly older than her. Oh my God.
no, I know, no, I'm saying Belichick's
No, no, I'm
son.
I'm
Yeah.
just laughing about
Oh,
the
yeah.
that
Yeah,
aspect.
I don't know that she matters as much to his decision as he does. But there's
Yeah,
probably some truth to the idea that college team has a different vibe, different parameters. There's a little
technically,
more of an off season.
yeah, you have more power technically in the sense
That
that
too.
you're
But you
everything in
also
the college
have more time
football.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that, it's more relaxed. I think, frankly, Belichick at, 75%, which I don't know that he can physically give 75%. We'll find out, I guess, is still probably better than a heck of a lot of the college coaches. Like, he's a very good coach, so I don't think the distraction thing is a problem. Me
Yeah.
personally, anyway. But yeah, no, I think this is it's an interesting move. It's gonna help the school tremendously. Whatever it is he wants, I'm sure he's thought about it. So,
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that all unfolds. Maybe that to become official soon. But regardless, it's gonna be interesting.
hmm
And we'll definitely be talking about this again. But that'll wrap up the college football playoff reaction and early predictions, plus Heisman Trophy and all of that. To also check out our Week 14 recap of the NFL season,
Mhm.
also available on this channel and on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. But great work, Ryan. And now we will see what happens with college football and the end of the NFL. So we'll
Mhm.
stick to this journey together on that and talk about meaningful football in both of these very important leagues. But
That's
good
right.
stuff. Can't wait to see how college football makes an impact in this mainstream world. All right, good stuff, Ryan.
All right. See ya.